Welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association, broadcasting from our home base at Charleston Radio Group. Thanks to CRG, we're able to talk to the movers and shakers of Charleston, from economy to art, from hospitality to tech, and everything in between. These leaders have made a home here in the Lowcountry. They live here, they work here, they make change here. Why? Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome to the Charleston Marketing Podcast, powered by the Charleston American Marketing Association. We're here recording at the Charleston Radio Group Studios, big supporters of CAMA. Got to give a shout out to Charleston's favorite DJ, Jerry Feelsgood, with the beats at the beginning, and thanks to all our supporters. Mike Compton here, president of Rūmbo Advertising, GoRūmbo.com, and your director of membership experience for the Charleston American Marketing Association. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with you know who. Say what's up, Steph.
What's up, guys? I'm Stephanie Barrow. I'm the founder of Stephanie Barrow Consulting. Very on the nose branding there. A digital marketing strategy agency here in Charleston, and your CAMA past president. I'm here with a very special guest, Christian Senger.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. This is the fun part.
Christian.
Yes.
I say this every single time, but here we go again.
You do.
I get to do the very awkward thing of reading all of your accomplishments
Right in front of me. Okay.
Are you excited?
So excited.
Okay, good. Let's do this. All right. Charleston resident Christian Senger is the man behind Holy City Center, the most popular local blog in Charleston. For the last 11 years, the residents of the city have voted the website and its associated channels as among the best in Charleston. Created in August 2011, Holy City Center celebrates the many sides of the historic and lively city of Charleston, from local news aggregation, helpful resources, interviews to event listings, celebrity sightings, party previews. This blog serves as a hub for the city's day-to-day happenings. As evidence of the blog's reliability and popularity, Senger has been featured in USA Today, Southern Living, The Post and Courier, Skirt Magazine. In addition, he has appeared on the BBC and BBC Radio, ABC News 4, Fox 24, Live 5 News, Kickin' 92.5, Low Country Live, 1015, The Bridge, Quentin's Close-Ups, and Mix 95.9. In 2016, Senger was named one of the Charleston's best and brightest by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of South Carolina. This program honors the Lowcountry's finest young professionals who exemplify strong leadership qualities and are active in their community and have excelled in their chosen professions.
What's up?
Wow, man.
Good job.
Let's give it a round.
Hey, was there internet in 2011?
Yeah, believe it or not.
It feels so long ago.
I know.
Doesn't it?
13-year anniversary is August 1st for the blog.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's been around a while doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
And so one of the first things I learned about Charleston is that this is the blog that you go to. I have a background in PR, and I was like, you have to become friends with Christian Senger at Holy City Center because he has got the #1 blog in the city. It is fabulous.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, people like you who say that, and they are then sharing it with other folks, which is amazing. Yeah. You know, a lot of people that do contact me to say like, hey, I like what you do, or I appreciate this. They usually say, I just moved here, or my friend said that I should check you out and stuff like that. So I appreciate anyone who, you know, has that word of mouth and sharing it with their friends and family and everything. That's how it grew. I'm
sending it to my friends in Nashville, like trying to have them come and make the move.
They can stay in Nashville if they like.
Hey.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Good old. So you're from Charleston?
You're from Charleston.
I'm not. No.
Oh.
I'm currently a Charleston resident, but I am born and raised in Connecticut.
Okay.
Moved here after college in 2007.
Nice.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yep.
What school?
I went to the University of Connecticut.
Okay.
Home of the reigning 2-time back-to-back or 6-time back-to-back national champion UConn Huskies.
There you go.
Yawn.
Very proud of them, of course, my alma mater. But yeah, so loved my time there, obviously. And then I majored in journalism and what we called sports communications, which was basically radio, TV, broadcasting, but with a bend towards sports.
Okay.
And then I tempted ESPN for about a year.
Okay.
After college, which was
for the Beast.
I did, yeah. I mean, you know, background, you know, low totem pole kind of guy. But after that ended, I was kind of trying to find a job. I found something there locally, but I had a few friends that were teachers and got jobs down here after college. And so over the course of the 2 years after graduating, I'd come and visit them, and you've heard this a million times for people, I'm sure. Fell in love with the area. I didn't really have any job that I was like, oh, I really want to do this forever. I better not mess it up. So I decided to come on down, and it was 2007. So I've been here a while, not a native, but have been here for a bit now.
Yeah.
Now, right when you got here, did you start working on this blog? No.
No, not at all. No. So, I got here in 2007, and then 2011 is when I started it. Basically, once I got kind of comfortable in this area and got to know it, and I did all like the big events that everybody knows about in town, and slowly but surely, as I met new people and explored, I started to learn about all these smaller events, these people in the community doing amazing things that you don't hear about day to day on the news. And I thought, it'd be kind of fun. I'll start a little blog about how I moved here and all the things I like doing, and try to focus on some of those smaller things. So it was really more of just like me, here's what I'm doing, and what I like about the town. And then over time, I started to, as I got more involved in the community and started getting like PR contacts and stuff like that, sending me press releases. I started like, I can kind of change this from what I do in town all the time to what's coming up in town, what's happening in town. Sure. And so after maybe like a year-ish, it kind of shifted to the focus of what it is now, which is more of here's what's happening in the city, here's what's coming up, here's what people are talking about, that kind of thing. So less of a focus on me and more just the city in general.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So it was a passion project.
100%.
Because you're not making money blogging. And blogging is in 2011. I didn't do my research on that, but it was probably pretty new.
I'm sure there was people who could have made money or did at that time, but no, I wasn't making any money on it. It was just something I wanted to do and thought would be a lot of fun. I liked writing. I liked doing stuff in town, and it scratched that creative itch that I had, that wasn't happening at my day job.
Which was?
I love it.
At that time, I was working for Verizon Wireless.
Okay.
Yeah, in sales, which I did not like.
Not flexing your creative muscles.
No, not at all. And so this was a great outlet for me. But over time, I started to see what it could potentially be, and potentially, bring in some money from it too.
Because Charleston's so interesting.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. There's always something going on. Yep.
Absolutely.
Whether it's restaurant openings or something bigger.
Profit galas or whatever. There's so much going on. And so I loved how you saw that, and then we're like, okay, we can do something better. Mm-hmm. And then so you were literally probably everywhere at once.
A little bit. The good thing is time went on, and I started getting people paying attention to it. Like I said, I would start getting people sending me stuff.
Sure.
Hey, this new restaurant's going to open, and getting invited to things like, quote unquote media dinners or influencer events and stuff like that in these later years.
Wow.
Where you get a heads up about something, and you get maybe access before everybody else does. So once that started to happen,
That was a while. How long did that How long until that started happening?
I think year 2 is when I got my first PR. Someone from a PR firm reach out to me, and they're just like, "Hey, you've got this interesting new thing. I don't really know what your goals are with it and whatnot, but I work for this firm and I work with these clients. Can I send you press releases?"
It's all about those relationships to get you going.
Do you remember how many followers or subscribers, whatever we call it, at that point?
The site itself didn't have a ton of followers or visitors at that time. Twitter has been my biggest audience from the start. Okay. I kind of lucked into it where when I started the website, Twitter was pretty new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so and also I lucked into the fact that this is about the time Charleston started winning all the best in the world, best city that's ever been in history, and all
I
that.
I saw the list.
The list is long now.
Great.
And I break it up by year. It's wild since I started the site how many of those like little accolades the city gets. I'm sure everyone's well aware because of all the people who continue to move here. So I just like hit it right where it grew so fast. And it was at a time when Twitter was a fun place to be. A little hit or miss on that nowadays, but so that was at that time. I would venture a guess like year 2. Maybe a few thousand followers on Twitter, but nothing crazy. But it was just just something new that they're like, hey, you're not a traditional media outlet. It's tough to get stories in the local newspapers and local TV and even radio because they have a limited time to talk about news, and when they do, they're going to talk about the biggest stories in town, not necessarily something a little bit smaller. So
So Charleston needed you.
Yeah, well, I think it was some creative thinking by PR firms who were like, "Hey, we should try to reach out to bloggers or what's become known as influencers."
Your name has always been very catchy to me.
Thank you.
Is it the play on the fact that the
Christian or Holy City? Like what?
Holy City Center is a
the
play on the fact that the tallest building in downtown Charleston can't be taller than the steeple?
A little. I mean, the Holy City, obviously, that's where it came from, because obviously that's the city's nickname. And I was trying to play around with names, and it was either going to be Holy City Saint or Holy City Sinner.
Okay.
And I just thought Sinner was going to be a little bit more eye-catching, more appropriate for myself, and also more appropriate for the city, because it has, like, all the church steeples that dominate.
Right.
Has a very strong religious ties in its history, even into today, but also has a darker side, a more fun side. As
the
far
logo
as
and the
bars
branding
and
is
all that.
fantastic.
Yeah, thank
well,
you.
You said you're not a marketer in our brief.
Well, that's
like,
true.
I don't know about
He is a
marketing.
marketer.
Well,
He's a natural,
here you are.
natural marketer.
You just named your.
That's true. That's all right. I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then but you found people smarter than yourself in design.
Correct.
And partnered with them.
Yep.
And
I just had like a clip art thing I found, a free clip art thing at first, and then I had an idea, reached out to someone, was like, hey, this is what I want for a logo.
Yeah.
Can you do it? And you came up with the little Holy City Center guy with the
And
horns
you've had
and
the
halos.
same logo since 2011?
No, the first one was like a clip art thing. It was similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like this little devil clip art, cartoony looking thing.
Right.
And so I wanted something a little less cartoony. And as it evolved, I also didn't want like some free clip art thing. So I found someone who could work on it pretty inexpensive. And they came up with that. I mean, I gave them the idea, but that's what they created, which I really like, and other people seem to too.
I love it. I think it's very clever.
Thank you.
Are you still cool with this designer? You want to give a shout out to your person who
Oh,
helped
I don't
you
even
design?
remember.
No, you don't remember.
No,
Oh,
it wasn't anybody local. If it was
No
local,
offense.
it'd be different.
Oh,
But they
yeah,
were.
yeah.
I think it was off of that website Fiverr
Don't
or something.
say that.
Oh.
Hey, we're
No.
not allowed to say that.
That
Yeah,
was
we
what-
are.
That's
No,
what
we're not. It's like
Shout out,
cussing.
Fiverr.
It's like
This is
swearing.
before
We
I
need
had
you as a sponsor.
any money
Thanks.
to put towards a big project,
Right,
so that was my only option at the time.
So when
Totally
you were
get it.
starting out building your brand, how did you come up with like the content strategy? Did you just go in like I'm going to write about what is passionate to me, and then eventually it just snowballed into covering a calendar of events and that type of thing?
That's exactly it. It just was me being like, hey, I moved to the city, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. And this is what's so vastly different to me as someone who came from the Northeast, so check out this amazing event. So it's kind of a way to talk about stuff I liked in case there were other people like me, transplants. And as we know, there are plenty, and it keeps growing. But also my friends back home too, like, hey, look at all the fun stuff that we have here. Come visit, maybe come move down here. And so, it was more of that, just like what I had done.
So you're writing in first
myself.
person.
Yeah, it was like first person. And then I was like, I could throw in some like newsy stuff, not like traditional news, but like this, I heard this restaurant's coming, or I saw this or whatever. And I would just link back to one of the traditional media outlets. But then, eventually that snowball started rolling. With me getting information sent directly to me versus me seeing it somewhere else first, and it just grew exponentially from there.
Am I seeing that you have a team of people now?
Well, sort of. I'm under a new company now, which is great. So after the Verizon days, I switched to working at MUSC for 11 years.
Sure.
But was still able to work on the site. It just worked out where I had the time to do both.
What were you doing from USC?
I was in the call center there, and my last role there was as a trainer.
Oh, sure.
And it was great. I enjoyed having that as like my day job, and then being able to do Holy City Center as my kind of passion project. But this past fall, this guy approached me. He was thinking about starting a startup for we should start but. Where it was going to be like a media company, basically, and what we had envisioned at first is changing all the time. But long story short was, under this company umbrella, he already had 2 local small newspapers, or Island Eye News and the Island Connection, which service basically all the Sea Islands. They're free. They come out twice a month. So he already had that under his portfolio, and he saw how the people there love the paper because it's so focused on their community. Mm-hmm. And he thought I was doing something similar for like more of like downtown, West Ashley, North Charleston. Now, granted, I'll talk about anything, but that was like the focus. Sure. So basically, he pitched me this idea. where Holy City Center would come under the company umbrella, and we would have a sales team, so I wouldn't have to try to sell ads or anything like that. I could just focus on the site and try to grow it, and in turn help this company grow by, maybe bringing on bloggers in other places. And so we're still working through that. We also have a marketing arm where someone, if a business is looking to market their business or create a logo or a website, like we have someone who can handle that. So it's kind of this all-encompassing business that was created, and I thought it was a really great idea, and so decided this was the time to take the leap of quitting my day job. And
oh boy,
yep, coming.
Congratulations!
It was tough.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
It was certainly a few weeks of nervousness and trying to figure out what to do,
Always.
but it just seemed like I just kept coming back to, if I don't do this, I think I'd regret not giving it a shot.
Yeah,
Right.
And so it's been since September. It's been awesome so far. The team that we've put together is really awesome. We have, some people who do social media stuff. We have the marketing folks. We have sales team, and we're still growing and building this company. And the company's called Milo News, which is My Local, so MYLO for short.
Okay.
Milo
That's
News.
clever.
That's the like the parent company basically.
company,
But then we
yeah.
have these entities, the papers, Holy City Center, and
Sierra
now.
News. Yep.
We have Hello Low Country and this Hello brand, which
Okay,
is this.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
They did like Hello Spartanburg,
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. So that's under the umbrella.
That's now under the umbrella of
That's
this company
cool.
as well. Kelli Ferguson runs those. She had like Hello Greenville and Spartanburg
Yes.
first, and she did
fun
awesome there.
Yep.
And so we brought her brand under. And so not only do we all have our own brands, we're still doing our own thing, but now we can partner with each other.
What a fun
You know,
collaborative
yeah,
environment.
So exactly.
all
We're
about.
just constantly coming up with ideas like, hey, maybe we can do this. Hey, have we thought about that? And it's been a really fun ride so far.
Very cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Milo.
My
Local.
local. Yeah, I didn't come up with it, but I thought that was a pretty good one too.
No, that is really clever.
And so I have like now if I get like sales leads or whatever, I have people I can pass that to. I don't have to worry about it, and
Oh,
they
that's
can
gonna be-
try to sell
Yeah, I
stuff.
was going to ask. So I work with a lot of clients that are local, and then ones outside of this area.
Yeah.
How do like local businesses get in contact with you to advertise with these entities and or the Holy City Center?
You can just email me directly, Christian@holycitycenter.com, and let me know what you're thinking of, and I'll direct you to the right person. So if it's like a content thing, like, hey, I'm a new business or whatever, that's going to be me. Any kind of
Okay.
content would be me. And then any sales stuff would go to one of my coworkers. It could be one of a handful of people for that. But just email me and I'll get you to the right person.
You've been really wonderful over the years for helping me when I was working at Trio Solutions, and then when I'm working for myself, sending you press and stuff. So thank you for that. Especially, you're a big supporter of nonprofits. I
Yes,
feel like.
absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate you sending me stuff, because without that, there's a lot of things that I would miss. And a lot of things the community wouldn't know about, and that's the whole point of what I'm doing. So I appreciate PR. Like some PR folks or marketing folks are worried, like, am I sending you too many stuff? Is this
I feel that way all the time.
And I'm like, no, please send me. I'll try to share in some capacity. I might not be able to get a story up, but maybe I can share
Right.
something on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I try
That's
to.
huge. You do a great job about that.
Thank you.
And what I love about you is such a small thing, but it's really not a small thing to me. So you always respond.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll send
important.
something and I'll be like, did it go out to the vast world of
Yeah.
unknown?
Yeah.
You always respond and say, thank you, this is going to go up at
Yep.
this time, and here's a link. And I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad, because that was I figured like most news organizations, which, they get way more press releases and stuff than I do, they probably don't respond. They're just like, maybe we're interested,
lot of
maybe
times
you're
they
not,
don't.
you'll never know.
Right. Yes.
And there is a selfish side to it, which was I could always respond and be like, hey, I covered it. Here's the link. Feel free to share, which would obviously help.
Which we all do.
Yes, which you then do. So
Yes.
thank you for that as well. But it just made sense to be like, oh, well, thank this person for giving you free content, basically. And, sure, I got to edit it or whatever, but I didn't have to go and get all these details myself when I'm just one person. And then, hey, here's the link. Why don't you go ahead and share it? And they, all these organizations always do, which then in turn brings more people, more eyes to me. Which you got to have good relationships with people to do stuff like this.
I feel like that's the Charleston way.
It is.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. For the most part, I think we were talking before about people always seem to be willing to collaborate as long as they have the time and resources. They'll work with you, and they're happy to do like partnerships on whatever it may be. And sometimes it's just as simple as sharing a link, one way or the other, But
Connecting
people,
dots.
yeah, exactly, yeah, connecting you with someone who can help you with something you need. I can't tell you how many times I've had a random conversation at a happy hour meetup or something, like, yeah, I'm having a hard time with this, or I don't like this. Like, oh, I know someone, and people are super helpful, which is appreciated,
huge,
and
honestly.
it just helps everybody in town. If we're all working together and succeeding, that's great.
This is probably why we're winning all the best of awards.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I mean, you gave a lot to start this. I mean, you gave a lot of your time, your passions to start Holy City Center back in 2011. I still can't. My gosh.
I know. Time has flown by.
And it wasn't long after you did that you moved here, right? So you moved here, what, 07,
Yep,
08?
07,
And then you just kind of got in. You're like, fell in love with the city somehow. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I came down to visit some friends who had gotten jobs down here.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt that one of the friends was a girl I was like kind of seeing.
Tell me
so
her
that
name
helped.
real quick. What
was that?
What's her name?
Katrina's her name.
Okay, I don't know her. I have some Yukon friends.
Oh, she actually
that live here.
Okay, gotcha. She wasn't a Husky, but I met her in college.
Yeah,
she went to a different college.
I mean,
but
Connecticut people from.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more people than the Huskies.
Yes. I mean, apparently, I guess we have other schools allegedly.
I'm a Spartan, so.
But okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, that's why I kind of.
Hey, it could be worse.
Yawn at your wins.
Could be like a Blue Devil or
right. Could be worse. Yes.
Syracuse Orange.
Ooh, the Blue Devil in the center.
Yeah, exactly. Know.
There's a story there,
but nothing. No ties to Duke. But no, we're not. We didn't work out. We're still friendly with each other. She still lives here, but that was kind of also part of it. But I wouldn't have done it if I was like, oh, I would want to live here. And then it helped that I did have some UConn alum down here as well.
Nice.
So I had like a group of like 5 people that I could just immediately kind of glom onto. And so coming down here, and it's completely different than Connecticut, of course, for so many reasons. Right. But just seeing like the Battery and the old buildings, Rainbow Row,
so
South
cool,
of Broad,
it's
just it's incredible. And then.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of change and growth.
Oh yes, a lot. Like that time, that was the other good thing. I had friends who could bring me around and be like, "Hey, these are the bars and restaurants we like," so I didn't have to search those out. But at that time, it was East Bay Street and Market Street was like the place to be when I moved here. That you really didn't go much other places as far as nightlife. Obviously, plenty of other things throughout the city, and now. That's still busy down there, but I feel like most people now are not just King Street, but Upper King Street, where you didn't go very far. When I first moved here, there wasn't a lot of businesses on Upper King, and now it's going even further up King and down the sides.
Some of my favorite places are Upper King now.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's a question. Is Upper King North Charleston?
Eventually,
obviously,
once you get up to what is it called, the Neck area?
Yeah, the Neck. That's where I was.
Kind of like near the Wanderer.
Yes, that area kind of transfers to North Charleston at some point.
So close to
over the tracks.
Yep.
I'm obviously a CURRYSAUCE, so. But anyhow, so you step back and look at this blog that you started in 2011, and now you're a Charleston multimedia web, like you're. The size you are now.
He's the man, basically, is what he's trying to say in a great...
Well,
you're the man.
That.
It's a lot, right? In a small amount of time.
That's something I struggle with in my life in general, is stepping back and appreciating things in the moment and accomplishments and, just human nature, focus on negatives more. So it's something I've tried to work on the last few years.
Yeah, that old imposter.
Yeah, imposter syndrome and everything. And do people actually really is this really a thing that makes a difference? And et cetera, and so I've been trying to do better of that over the last couple of years, to step back, especially if I'm getting stressed about a lot of work to do or whatever, or something's not looking exactly the way I want it to look. And I've been trying, especially these last 2 years, and with the coming under this new company, leaving my day job for it, trying to step back and be like, oh, wow, this is what I would have ideally wanted, and trying to just appreciate it and enjoy the moment for however long it lasts. So trying to do better about it, and but still struggle with it.
Do you ever kind of get like a stonewall where you just no creative juices flowing? Because you have to be creative. You're creative every single day. I mean, your blog has new stuff go up every single day.
The good thing is, if I hit a wall like that, I get so many press releases and emails on a day-to-day basis that I don't necessarily have to put a ton of brain power or be creative, because it'll be like, a lot of marketers and PR folks are really good writers, so I'll look at something, I'm like, there's really not much I got to take out of this. Like, a lot of times I'll take out like the flowery flowery language,
Yes,
where they're like, this is the greatest restaurant to ever come to Charleston, whatever it is, and stuff that, it wouldn't seem like it'd be coming from me, especially since if it's a place that's not open, how do I know that it's a this, that, or the other? So, but they're so good that when I'm having those moments, I can kind of just leave it as is and just take out that stuff that is just, doesn't really fit for someone coming to my site. So that helps. And the creative side now more comes from how can I grow the audience? What new thing can I cover or new angle can I go for? To try to bring folks on, something fun to get interaction on social media, whatever it may be. With this team now, we are bouncing ideas off each other. We just did a photo contest, which did pretty well. Anybody could submit photos, and then people would vote on them. The benefit for us, besides page views, was everyone who voted had to sign up for our email newsletter.
Smart.
So bring on people like that. So we're doing stuff like that with each other, which is great too, to have to now bounce off stuff and be like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? And have someone else be like, no, it's great, or we should do that. So that's helpful.
It's tough on your own, right?
You're
on your own for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're just relieved as all get out about not having to deal with advertising.
Yes. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, to not have to put any, and I didn't put much towards it, which is why I wasn't doing this by myself with no other job, because I just hated doing that stuff. It's taken a big weight off my shoulders, and it's great to have them go out and get these things done. And also it keeps, not that I'm a traditional news organization by any stretch.
What are we calling you? That's my question. What are we calling Holy City? A
website, blog is fine. Yeah. It's news in the loosest sense. Yeah. It's more like news. Entertainment and like culture.
Yes.
Less
it's a resource.
News. Yeah, it's a resource. But, I still think the sales side should be somewhat separate from what I do.
Agree. That's hard to take all those hats.
Yeah.
Sales is
so that way, if
not for creatives,
a business gets quoted a price and they're like, well, that's ridiculous, and they don't do business with us, doesn't mean I'm not going to still talk about them and what they do.
Yeah. Keep it all separate.
Keep it separate so no one gets mad at me about a price or whatever it may be. That's been great, being able to kind of push that off on some other folks.
Kind of evolved into like a podcast now.
Yeah, talk about your podcast.
So I launched the podcast.
And when are we on?
On 2021. What was that?
And when are we on?
Yeah. What time and what radio dial? I started in 2021, so a couple years in now. It started out as once a month, but then I expanded it to 3 times, or was it once a month or once a week? I think it was once a week.
Oh.
I expanded it to 3 times a week.
That's a lot.
But shorter episodes and just like quick hits, like here's the latest news from the last episode.
Yeah.
Some opinion might get injected there, and I still do interviews, as they come up, but not every episode has one.
I see.
And it's been a lot of fun. I love doing it. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts. It's on all the platforms.
You're producing and editing and all this stuff yourself?
Actually, no. I hired a producer,
Okay.
local Lindsay Marie Collins. Her
shout out to Lindsay.
Business is called LMC Sound System. So if you are interested in doing a podcast, reach out to her. Yeah. I'll record it. I'll tell her it's done. She goes into like the little recording room I did it in, and she edits it, adds like theme music and transition breaks and stuff like that, and then she pushes it out to all the platforms. So all I have to do is talk, really, and find the stories, and then she does an amazing job with producing it. And she's been with me since episode 1, and she does an amazing job. But and I love doing that because radio was my favorite of all the media entities growing up. And when I was in college, that was my favorite thing I did, was doing radio versus TV or the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to ask you, this was going to parlay into some kind of, local news spot where you would have people kind of like, Aaron Kinzel or one of them. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be brought on to different shows, whether radio or TV, to talk about events or do interviews and things. Who knows what we'll do in the future, if we'll add like a video component or something.
That would be cool.
But we don't have it right now.
The world is literally your oyster.
Yeah,
really,
they say here in Charleston.
So much.
Yeah, with this team, that I'm now a part of, I have a lot of opportunities to partner with them on different things, and they have connections that I don't, and we'll be able to maybe get some really fun and interesting things coming up in the future.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, he does.
I do,
Okay.
and that's the podcast it streams right to that.
That's smart.
But there's
that's right.
But there's no like video of.
Yeah, there's no visuals.
So it's not as big as it could be if we could get a setup, with the video at the same time.
Get yourself an iPad.
There you go.
We're big time.
I mean, I
over
have
here.
the equipment. I don't know because it's recorded. It's not a nice studio like this. It's just my bedroom. So I gotta
Charleston
get
Radio
like
Group's the best.
I'm gonna have to dress up, my bedroom behind me or something.
I was going to ask you if you
Yeah.
soundproof. You got the egg crates on the walls. Making
No
it happen.
soundproof. My poor neighbor hears me in there, I'm sure, doing the podcast episodes.
Love it.
But yeah.
It's very authentically you.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. DIY, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you know people that can help you out.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
That's what the Charleston
You've
American
kind of-
Marketing Association is all about.
That's right. And you've kind of like changed the landscape in this space for that. There's really no competition for what you do here.
No, there isn't, and that's not an arrogance thing or anything.
Yes.
It's just
It's true, though.
it's so different than traditional news.
It
so I
is.
don't see, and I know they definitely don't see me as competition. But the Post and Courier, Charleston City Paper, all the radio stations and TV stations in town. What I'm doing is different, and what they're doing is so different. There's space for everybody.
You could partner with them and get
Exactly.
content from them.
And they've,
vice
like I
versa.
said, they've invited me to do things.
I
over the
guarantee
years.
you their producers are on your site on a daily looking to
for
see
sure.
what's going on.
I'll see
and talk
stuff
about.
linked, because you can see in the background what sites direct traffic to you, so I can see when a local news organization has shared a link of something I did. I'll hear sometimes on radio or other podcasts people mention something that likely came from my site, which is great.
Right.
And yeah, that certainly helps. When I started hearing that, and all the local reporters would follow me on Twitter, especially when a new reporter comes into town. I'll know because all of a sudden I'll have a random follow from someone, and they're like, they'll show some TV station, and they haven't updated their bio yet. In a couple weeks, they're on like one of the local ones.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun that they are told or believe that I could be a
part of
resource.
their training.
Yeah,
Part of their
yeah,
training.
It's
Yeah,
just
you gotta
it's
follow what
awesome
they say.
because you're just such a huge supporter of small businesses
yeah.
that
That's
don't necessarily have the resources to send out press releases and that kind of thing to the major networks and get on the air. So
Exactly.
it's really cool what you do.
that was the whole plan was to share Charleston in general. So I
Yes,
still, of course,
amen.
talk about the big, huge events that
Right.
don't need my support at all. But yeah, that's always the focus is something new coming to town, or the small business or the nonprofit that doesn't get as much attention from those other places. Because number one, I just wanted to do that, but number two, that makes me a little different from other organizations in town. So even if they don't really care when I share like a concert announcement or something, they're like, oh, but I do want to know about local nonprofits and their events and stuff, that they'll come to the site or social media channel or whatever and stick around for that.
Nice.
Christian,
No, we
I'm
do
about to
have-
throw away that cup here if you keep
Sorry.
playing with it. Could you put it on the table and leave it alone, please?
We do have some listeners that aren't in the Charleston area, especially
Yeah,
if we
Charlotte.
have people from the different AMA chapters who tune in. So, like, what advice would you give for people who are wanting to kind of go? I know that you started your career path in 2011, so the strategy might be a little bit different than now. But what kind of like key takeaways would you give to people who are starting off like in this? I feel like for better words, or influencer bloggers is like very saturated. But what you're doing is very a specific niche because you're concentrating on the city.
Yeah, it would depend, because every city, of course, has its own feel and its own vibe, and some might be more open to something like this. If you're in a huge city, it would probably be hard to stick out as like an influencer or a
Sure.
blogger or whatever. And yes, things have changed as far as what social media platforms you can use. So if someone was starting out now, I mean, TikTok, of course, seems to be like a must-have. People like an odd, I would say, upsetting amount of people get their news from TikTok, which is distressing.
A lot of people.
Yeah, which is distressing for many reasons. But the point is, a lot of people are on there, and they're on there all day.
Yes.
And Instagram as well. Twitter is less important, I think, and hard to build a following now. Same with Facebook, because they're both just so saturated with so many different people, and their environments aren't as welcoming as they used to be, I would feel, overall. But social media will lead people to your site if you have one, or if
Right.
social media is your game, there's that. So then we have that part. The other thing is just be as authentic as you can be.
Amen.
And people, that's what I felt why my base grew over time, was that people were just like, oh, this is just some guy who just really loves Charleston and likes to talk about it. He has no real agenda outside of that.
No one's
he's not
paying him to say these things.
No one's paying him to talk about this.
We're
little
talking about you, right?
Restaurant.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, okay. And then I think that's why PR firms really started to come around, not just to me, but as Instagram and TikTok took off, you'll see influencers invited to like media events now, because I think a lot of people are more likely to believe an individual versus if the Post and Courier or one of the local TV stations or whatever
celebrity
writes a review.
Sure.
They're like, they just see it as this entity, and they're like, all right, well, the Post and Courier said it's good. And that's not to take anything away from them. They've got great writers and they do amazing work. But for some reason, people are more willing to believe influencers or bloggers or whatever for whatever reason. So if you stay authentic and people see that you're just doing this thing because you love it and you care about it, and you don't push too hard. I think a lot of people want to just be like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become a influencer. No, maybe do both for a little while.
Yeah.
See how it goes. If you don't have that desperation of, I need to make money from this, if you're just doing it because you like it, you won't seem so like craven, and people seem to see through that fake stuff or that desperation. They're less likely to follow you. So I think that's what really helped, is that I had a job. I had no real set goal in mind. Like, I have to turn this into X, Y, and Z. I was just doing it and going with the flow. And that's easy for me, not easy for everybody else to do.
It's great.
Right.
But that would be the advice I would give is, just if you have a job, stick with it. Try to plug away at this. Build your base by being yourself, being authentic, and then just make sure whatever platforms people are on or are popular at the time, because they're always going to change, just make sure you're on them. And putting consistently putting good content on it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if X is going to phase out.
I don't know. That was my favorite. It was my favorite for a long time.
It's great for press releases and PR,
Yes.
and just for me, like starting my morning off coffee, looking at the news.
It used to be
checking in the
great
world.
for live news events too.
Yes.
Because number one, you used to be able to tell who was verified for being a legit journalist. And you used to be able to see things in chronological order before the algorithm comes in and it shows you more popular posts.
Stupid.
So like
algorithm.
during hurricanes, I'll always say, like, be sure to check the timestamp on whatever tweet you're looking at, because if I send out there's a hurricane warning and it gets a bunch of interaction 5 hours ago, it might be the first thing you see on your feed when you open up Twitter, but it's 5 hours old. There could be more important news.
That's
so stuff
a
like
very
that is
valid
really
point.
frustrating. And of course, there's bad actors out there, putting aside trolls and all that stuff, just people who will just put a completely fake, not even a story. They'll claim it's a story with no link to anywhere, and people are willing to believe that stuff. So it's become a tougher place to be.
I have to wonder what the new X is going to be. 'Cause there's got to be something. I guess Threads is the thing now.
Yeah.
Instagram has Threads. Yeah.
What? Shoot, I had a thought just now. Darn it, Stephanie.
Sorry.
It's all right. I'm just kidding.
Interjecting with my positivity, as he says.
AI.
Sure.
Yeah. And what you just said, all the art, the non-factual artificial news that are now being created by these seconds by an artificial intelligence.
You can almost always tell when something's written by
Can
AI.
you? Help me out then. Help the audience out.
At least right now, I feel that it very well could change. But there always just seems to be a little something off about a sentence or two or the syntax, like something you're like, that doesn't sound like something a human would write.
Would say.
Yeah, it just doesn't flow right. So you can sometimes tell. Now, that's probably not the case, period. But there's always it also seems to use a lot of synonyms and stuff. You're like, again, it's just like you didn't need to use that word there. It could have just been a much simpler word. It just seems like it's
you're doing too much.
They're doing too much. Yeah, they're trying to do too much, but when we were talking about things that you can use if you're trying to start out, there are some good things it can do. It can answer some quick questions, which I guess Google could do too, of course. But it can I put something in, like I'd forgotten. I was like, "Is this AP style? Associated Press style book?" And I forgot because I have it in my apartment, but I was out and I was like, I didn't want to wait. So I was like, "Is this in this AP style?" And it came back and it was right. And so it can be helpful, and also it can create images and stuff too. If you just need like a quick image, I'll use it once in a while, or I have a story and I'm like, I don't have a picture of that. Well, AI, can you do this? And even that's not very good either, but every once in a while they'll come up with a pretty cool image for a story or something. But a lot of the times it's still very much a work in progress. But it's just going to get better.
Brainstorming. It's good
yes.
for,
yep.
I haven't come across a good AI program right now for graphics.
Yeah,
I'm using ChatGPT for that, and like I said, it's real hit or miss. If you try to, like, I tried to do like can you make an image for a post about a Charleston roundup about, I think it was like Christmas events,
Sure,
and then it was like sort of looked like Broad Street, but then there's like the Brooklyn Bridge in the background, and it was snowing, which does happen in
maybe
Charleston.
once in 20 years.
Everyone's all bundled up, and it was like thinking of like Ebenezer Scrooge kind of times, like the outfits. So it was a little off. And then if there's any like marquees, like they don't know how to spell words and stuff. I'm like, can you put Holy City Center on a marquee? And it will be missing letters. So it's creatives in that realm. You have
we're
nothing
still
to worry
employable,
about.
friends.
Yes,
that's all
much.
I'm leaving with. That's funny.
What so what's the future look like? I mean, I know you just kind of jumped into your future not too long ago.
Well, we've already taken some steps, with like with the sales team, they've already sold more than I ever would have, and being able to get ads on the podcast, which I never was able to get.
Yeah, still working on that here too.
Yep, it's not easy. Even with the sales team, it's not easy to get people to spend money, even if you've got a professional in that field. It's tough to get, especially new businesses and things.
Yeah.
So we have some
work together, or you're like a space together, or you all work from home?
We're mostly remote, but we meet twice a week just to make sure we're in person and be like, what are you working on? Where are you on this? It's just easier than sending emails back and forth. So we do get together and meet twice a week. That's where I just came from before here. But the most immediate future step is I took on a new role. Those 2 local newspapers I mentioned that we are part of our company. Lynn Perotti, who has been the publisher, and Brian Sherman, who's been like the editor-in-chief for the Island Eye News for, I think, 20 years.
Yeah, Sherman's the oldest man in Charleston. I tease him all the time. In Mount Pleasant, to be exact.
And they both decided to retire at the same time. And so we were looking for people to fill those roles. And I was asked, and I'm stepping into essentially like publisher / editor-in-chief for the Island Eye News.
Nice.
Very cool.
This first issue we're working on now will be out next Friday the 15th, I think.
Okay.
It services those communities, but we have websites for them as well, islandinews.com. Island Connection is handled by a couple other people, but I'll still be involved in that. So this is a whole new thing for me, a whole new audience, but I'm excited because it's still keeping me in the content creation, content. Granted, I'll have freelancers. I'm not writing all these things myself, but it's keeping me in that world, but adding, the newspaper aspect to it, which is kind of cool.
Very cool.
So looking forward to it. It's going to bring me out to the islands more, Isle of Palms, Sullivan's, Kiowa, Seabrook and stuff, which is fun too, because I don't get out there that often. So that's another role that I'm taking on now, keeping me very busy, but it's exciting. And we'll see if hopefully things will continue to grow and maybe some responsibilities.
You'll be very busy during the Kiowa Marathon season.
Yes. I think it's busy every month.
Oh yeah, Kiowa's.
I bet. One of my thoughts and questions, now that you have these partners that do print, are you going to dabble in prints at all?
I don't think so, no. I mean, dabble in the sense that I'll just be working on the current existing papers, but bringing Holy City Center into it.
You could be like the Village Voice of Charleston.
Right, exactly. I think City Paper's got that market pretty well covered, but also it is, I didn't know this, it is not cheap to run these papers, and I'm not doing the finance side, thankfully, but I've seen them. It's expensive. A paper's expensive. Hiring a printer, it's not cheap. So we'd have to be pretty far down the line making lots of money as the company in general to think of something like that. So I won't say never, but it's definitely not a priority right now.
Horizon.
But there'll be some collaboration where, some stuff that shows up on Holy City Center might show up in the paper because it's a good fit out there, so stuff like that will happen.
Something I learned is called co-opetition. It's your it's a competition, but you're, who's had, was it Zach?
Maybe.
And also Zach Giglio's his podcast, his episode's all about AI. So if you need any AI resources, listen to that podcast. He's fantastic. Speaking of podcasts, you said that you were going to do tomorrow's podcast. So right now, where are we? We're in
it's Thursday, June 6th, right now.
And then just yesterday, what happened to the bridge?
Yes, this wild scary moment. Thankfully, it turned out to be nothing. But yeah, the Ravenel Bridge was shut down on Wednesday for I think like 20 minutes, half hour, like completely shut down in both directions.
People were freaking out. I'm
People were freaking out
because on the heels of the bridge disaster in Baltimore, we potentially had a ship. I mean, there was a ship that was at full throttle. They couldn't take it back. It lost propulsion, so they couldn't control it. And so local authorities, they did an amazing job of getting word of that and then immediately shutting down the bridge just in case, because it was heading towards the Ravenel.
How far away was it from the Ravenel?
It went under the bridge.
It went under.
It literally
It just
went
so
under.
happened that they were
Yeah.
pointing
I
the
saw
right
some
direction.
video of it.
Yeah. A couple local news stations have posted the video on like Instagram and their websites. But yeah, it just happened to go dead center basically. And it was nowhere
So
near
lucky.
any of the, I don't know, what do you call them, pilings or what have you.
Right.
And officials here have said that this is a completely different scenario than Baltimore. This is a newer bridge. It's been, it's built differently. It was built to withstand something like that possibly happening. Of course, it was built to withstand, hurricanes and stuff like that. But let's not chance that. And I'm glad they didn't. And so once that boat was clear of the bridge, it opened back up. So it was only like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But when you see that, breaking news, out of control boat or boat who can't control, whatever the headline was, shuts down Ravenel Bridge, you immediately think of what happened in Baltimore a few months ago. So thankfully that didn't happen.
I feel like the Charleston Police Department and all the different media outlets did a really good job of covering it.
Absolutely.
I was very nervous to leave my house because of traffic and just worried about people in general. So
yeah, it was Charleston Police, Mount Pleasant Police, Port was involved, and local news as well, just getting that out immediately. Like, bridge is closed. This is why.
Are there any resources, and you don't have to give away your Kool-Aid or anything like that, but any resources that you can tell our listeners that, go to? You got to be a tough conversation when somebody says the conversation to you. Somebody says, "Did you hear about this?"
Yeah.
And you're probably like, "Yeah, I did." I did.
Resources as far as like where else to get news and things, or where I get stuff. So like obviously I get press releases, but those tend to be the fun stuff, restaurants opening, all that. But like for true news, which I don't really cover as far as I'm not going out and writing these stories, politics, arrests, stuff like that. Our local news here does a fantastic job, and that's why I said I don't see them as competition to what I do, and vice versa. Besides they have a bigger audience than me, but that's their job. That is what they're focused on. They're the best at it in the town. So I always go to those for the more traditional, hard hitting news. So if you need something like that, honestly, all of our local papers, TV stations, and then any radio stations that talk about news, they all do a great job with that. So that's where I go for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, events.
You go to holycitycenter.com.
Go holycitycenter.com/calendar.
Is that pretty much is that your hot?
That's the biggest by far, the most views.
And when I go, honestly, like,
you don't have to lie about it, please.
No, I said hand on the Bible. That's where I go.
And I learned the hard way.
Especially when people come visit me for the weekend, I look ahead of time.
Does anybody ever say, "Let me lie about it"?
Well,
let me lie real quick.
I didn't want to toot his horn if it wasn't the truth.
I learned the hard way when I got with this new company. We did an upgrade to my site, which I think it looks better than it did, but it got rid of the calendar I had been using for years and years. There's a new calendar program, and I got so many DMs and emails. Where's the old calendar? I don't like this new calendar.
Oh, no.
And now the old one is back. But that was as much as I was
it's
like,
a huge resource for planning your month.
Yeah.
If you're someone like me who does a lot of events.
It's just a program I use, but the way it's presented is so low key, and you can see several events at a time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And it is much better, and so I'm glad that people gave me that feedback, and it's back. But yeah, that's by far the most viewed page, and if someone were to compliment the site, it's almost always referring to that calendar. Yeah. So that's the big thing there.
This is amazing. Like, I just found I can go see on June 6th at 6 o'clock. I can go see 5 lesbians eating quiche.
There you go. It's a comedic play at, what is it, Dock Street? Or not Dock
awesome.
Street?
Yeah. I love it. It's
I love Queen
Street Playhouse.
Queen Street Playhouse. Footlight Players, I believe, is behind that one. Yep. See? You never know what you're going to find on that calendar.
What a cool...
We live in a cool place. There's always something
Street,
going on.
though, is really cool.
The venue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really cool. Yeah. A friend of mine had his wedding reception there. It was really cool.
And there's so many cool theaters down there, and it's all like really neat things to do.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of that sent to me, but I also, for people who are trying to search out their own businesses, still utilize Facebook events quite a bit. So if there's a business you really like, just go to their Facebook page, click over to events, and you can see all that. That's a big resource for me, is seeing things there. And I'll just go to each venue's calendars, to once a month or whatever, to just make sure I haven't missed anything. And I sign up for all the newsletters. So anytime there's a concert announcement, I'm getting that, but this is all stuff people can do themselves if you have a favorite venue or whatever.
I bet you're aggregating data all day long.
That's pretty much all day, every day is what I'm doing.
AI can help you out on that.
Yeah, we've been trying to brainstorm ways that AI may be able to help with tasks like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We haven't really quite figured all that out, and obviously not a priority because we're busy with other things, but we've definitely been like, hey, I wonder how we can make this work, since it doesn't seem to work in a way that, not the best way that we were hoping when it comes to graphics and writing. And
so with the
Right.
papers that you're currently running, do you have to? Are you only promoting like Sullivan's Island businesses,
Not necessarily.
or if
That
it's
is-
like a service that happens to also?
The biggest
service it?
focus is going to be the islands themselves.
Yes.
So Island iNews is going to be heavily focused on Isle of Palms and Sullivan specifically. And so you're going to see like town council meeting recaps and stuff like that.
Kind of like the Daniel Island News.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Okay.
like any other like kind of hyper local paper that services a smaller area. But that doesn't mean something that's happening in Charleston or North Charleston or West Ashley won't end up in there.
Right.
That's just like the priority and the focus is like, or what do the people who live here need to know? That's number one. And, we kind of have a hierarchy of articles and be like, hey, we've got some cool stuff we can put in there if we have the space. There's a big announcement, something like Spoleto, which is going on now.
I love
I was gonna ask about
Spoleto.
that.
Yeah, people on the islands want to know about that.
Of course they do.
So
Yeah.
there will be non-island related stuff because obviously people travel. But the focus is always going to be on if there's a local issue to that town, what that will always be like the top of the fold, as they say. And,
Right.
that'll be the focus. But inside the paper, there'll be more.
And there's
of
a
variety.
digital version and a print version.
Yep, exactly. You go to islandinews.com or islandconnection.com, connections, and you can see, not only can you see articles posted there that don't show up in the papers, but also we have one of those like flip book things.
Yeah.
So if you don't live on the islands or you missed picking one up from one of the businesses that get them outside or whatever, you can flip through as if you're reading the paper too, which is cool.
Nice.
That
I
is
have some
awesome.
businesses I'm going to contact you about.
Yes, please. We got
That's
plenty of
exciting.
opportunities.
Plenty of advertising opportunities.
Yes.
I know.
Socials, websites, newspapers, podcasts,
And
all sorts of
obviously-
stuff.
HolyCityCenter.com
Mm-hmm.
and at Holy City Center everywhere, correct?
Yep, on all the social platforms, yeah.
That's
Podcasts.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
You got a conglomerate. I mean, it was like huge. Like I don't even know. Like,
I know.
It's become a
So much-
multimedia entity, especially with this new project. It's been really cool.
Been very impressive, and I know
Thank
I said
you.
it earlier, but I think it's awesome what you're doing for smaller businesses and nonprofits and that kind of thing to help
appreciate that.
get the word out and the mission out and all those good things.
you're doing a lot of work. It sounds like
Yeah.
you've done a lot of work.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Gosh, a lot of
I put a
sweat
lot of
equity going
hours
on
into
here.
this over the nearly 13 years, and
Yeah.
now that it's the full-time job, I'm putting more into it, obviously, because I don't have to go to a day job and then
that
do
wonderful?
stuff. Yeah.
Oh, what
Now,
a
granted, I
blessing
was
that is,
kind
isn't
of plugging away while at work on the site.
Sure.
and
There you
stuff.
go,
It doesn't
you know.
matter. I'm not there anymore. But now I have just that dedicated time
Yeah.
to do this, and now other tasks related to the bigger picture for us.
Working for yourself.
So and for myself, exactly. And so yes, keeps it very busy, and it also gives me more opportunities to go to shows or check out stuff that I couldn't always do because of my work schedule. So now
Right.
I have more opportunities to go to things, attend invites, for media related stuff, which is good too. So it doesn't stop.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited for you in this
Yeah.
next venture.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you back on so we can see what.
Yeah, see how we
it's
did,
going.
how we grew. Yeah, absolutely, that'd be great.
I mean, and then just to kind of recap here, like for our listeners, like this is a huge resource for networking events,
Mm-hmm.
for leads, for what's going on in the islands and in Charleston, all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, with the addition of those papers, we have a pretty good footprint down here, and then also the social media, hello Instagrams, hello Charleston, hello
Yes.
Greenville, whatever. So we're also spreading out a little
I
bit
love
into
that.
the state, and that's kind of what we hope to do is keep adding to our portfolio in different ways, whether it's other parts of South Carolina or maybe other parts of the country eventually. We'll see. Sky's kind of the limit. We're kind of trying to figure it out, but we got a pretty good footprint down here with all our different brands.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Very cool. What's your favorite accolade that Charleston got over the years?
Favorite Charleston accolade?
Because I'm on your site right now, and it says, who's honoring us now?
Yeah. There's been some funny ones. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head.
I'll show you the list.
Here we go. Let's see. There's some good ones, that are just nice to see, like, best in the city, or best place to live, best city ever, all that kind of stuff. There's been some wild ones over the years, but for this year...
This is just this year?
See, at the top of this page, who's honoring us now, you can see from 2010 to 2013 is one bundle.
Oh, my.
And then 2014 all the way to 2023, year, the accolades we have. I'm trying to think of one of the more funny ones we have. There hasn't been one this year, but...
at least 20, if not
easily.
more.
Just this year.
Just this year.
I'm going to click on 2023 so you can see everything from last year. It's even crazier on there.
This is good.
We're halfway through this year.
Brian, hospital in South Carolina, #1 hospital, MUSC.
There you go.
Shout out there to Sean Jenkins and MUSC.
There's one, a pretty good one. Number 5 best city for gluten-free food.
There you go.
By a website called Lawn Starter. So that's a pretty prestigious designation. So I'll get a lot of those. That seems to be a big thing I'm seeing now over the last few years, are these really random websites like Lawn Starter, which is like a...
How did you even come across Lawn Starter?
They sent it to me.
Okay, of course they did. Yeah,
and
that
now,
would make sense.
Once I posted one, all these other businesses, it'll be like law firms from like Wisconsin or a website like
they
that,
want the
which has
backlinks.
Nothing to do with what they offer as services, but they create these top 10 lists to try to get
SEO
people
backlinks.
to cover people to cover it. So you link to their site. They'll even say in the email, all coverage must link back to this, as if they can tell you what you can and can't share. But a lot of them are silly, and I know what they're going for. But at the same time, people love lists. It gets clicks. It gets discussion.
List.
Yeah, but then there are some good ones, like big, Southern Living, Condé Nast, the one that we're all familiar with, that are a little bit more understanding, Garden and Gun, and things like that. Of course, we get like James Beard Award nominations and winners. So 100%. There are some prestigious things in that list, but a lot of them are just kind of silly.
Whenever I get the James Beard Award list, I'm like, oh, there goes my favorite restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go, Chubby Fish.
I mean, there's a link just to that, new restaurants in Charleston, 2024. So
I have new restaurants that opened this year. I've been doing that each year for the past, 5. So you can also see what opened in 2017 in town. Okay. I have restaurants that closed this year, and same thing. And then I can't take credit for this. Someone else gave me the name, but it's called Hopenings, business, restaurants, and bars that we are hoping are going to open based on real information, though. It's not like, I hope a Cheesecake Factory is going to come here someday. It's like ones that have been announced.
Said nobody ever.
Said nobody.
But it'll just be like ones that have been announced in some capacity when they're expected to be here and stuff like that. So those 3 lists are pretty popular, too.
We got lifestyle.
Yeah, that's more like, exercise or sometimes nonprofits, depending on their mission.
Very comprehensive website. If you obviously, Mike.
I can't go line by line here stuff. You're not going to let me do that. I got one more question.
I'm very comprehensive.
Also in lifestyle, we just started partnering with Nicole Farina, who does this thing called Charleston Diaries. And for us, she's doing Single in the Holy City.
She's awesome. P.S. I'm watching her on
look
TikTok
who got excited now.
Instagram.
See,
I'm not obviously single, but she's very clever and cute.
Yeah. And that's why we brought her on.
She's sharp. I like her.
So she's like our Carrie Bradshaw at the moment.
Amen, Carrie
doing
Bradshaw.
Single in the Holy City. She's writing twice a month.
You haven't seen that yet?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
She's on Instagram.
I'm
she
gonna
does
look
a
at next,
podcast.
though.
So she's been a great partner with us too. So that's another thing that we're trying to be creative. Like, hey, we don't talk about dating, and there's really not anyone who does in the media.
She did a good one
so.
Yesterday about Taylor Swift lyrics.
Yeah,
which I like T Swift.
That's great.
You're welcome.
What about Quentin? I saw Quentin does.
Like Quentin.
Been partnering with Quentin for a long time. Quentin Washington, local journalist. He's been doing what's called Quentin's Close-Ups for probably 10 plus years as well, and he just interviews everyone from big names. Like he's interviewed mayors and like the head football coach at South Carolina.
There we go.
But then he'll get like down ballot races, like someone running for coroner or something like that. He's really around this time, election time. He's really the only place you can get a true feel for a candidate. because it's a video interview.
Is
so
it?
you're
Okay.
also got you could kind of hear them
all on
and get
YouTube.
their mannerisms and how they respond to questions. Whereas you might see a blurb about some down ballot races in the paper, but you don't really get a feel for the person.
Right.
There's been a few candidates where I've seen their interview quit, and I'm like, oh no,
Nice.
Yeah, that's not good. I'm not voting for that person.
That's important.
Yeah, it's
is
very
important.
And so I asked him, I was like, hey, you post these things to your YouTube. Do you mind if I post those videos on my site? You'll still get credit
And he said
for
no.
the views. No, and he's the nicest guy ever. I'd be shocked if he said no, but he said yes. And so I've been sharing all his interviews, which has been mutually beneficial for us.
Love it.
Yeah.
One last thing, and this is one of Stephanie's notes here,
You're welcome.
is the foundation of South Carolina.
I just think it's really amazing what you're doing for all the community and how you're so involved.
There's a prestigious honor called the
it was-
Foundation of South Carolina.
Yeah, the Charleston's Best and the Brightest by the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation
yes.
of South Carolina.
There it is.
Yes.
I just want to hear more about, because once again, I work with a lot of nonprofits,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're always a big supporter. Also, Quentin always has
Yes.
my nonprofit clients
Oh,
on
there
there,
it
which
is.
makes me super happy. Can you just tell a little bit about like the involvement in the community and why you give so much back? So I know you're not from here, so it's
Right.
really even more heartwarming that you're so involved.
As the site grew, I started learning more about local nonprofits that were here, whether it was from just, I was paying more attention to the news, I was searching for things, or someone would contact me directly. And, again, we all know about the bigger national charities, but there's some that are specific to just this area, and they obviously don't get the same coverage that, like, a bigger national charity does. Not that there's anything wrong with those big national charities, of course. And so I would get a better idea of the people behind it and the people that they are trying to help versus a big national brand, because you're actually in the community with these people. And so I was just like, well, I've got this site and I have people who follow it and they might want to know about these as well. And so I always wanted to share it. And as things have gone on, and especially over these last 5 or 6 years with things going on in the country, different types of nonprofits have become more important to me that I think are helping groups that really need it, especially now. And so, it's a little bit of that too. Like, I see something going on and I'm like, who can help in this situation? I feel helpless. Oh, here's an organization that can help with that. And maybe I can't donate money right now, or I can't donate a lot, but I can use my platform to talk about it. And who knows what happens
Get
from
their
there.
mission out there.
Get it out there. Let people at least know about it. And hopefully get donations or volunteers. People always ask, are there volunteer opportunities in town and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just, those are the folks that are doing incredible work, and they're most of the time these smaller local nonprofits. They get a salary perhaps, but it's not what they could be making in the private sector.
Right.
So these are people who are putting their heart and soul into something that's really important to them, that in turn helps other people. So I don't know. That just is really admirable to me, and I always want to share those as much as I can and support those for that reason.
No, you've been a testament of that for many, many years now. I can speak on that. Thank you for all you're doing.
Of course, I'm happy to.
What else can what can CAMA do? What can the Charleston American Marketing Association do?
How can we support you?
Give me all your money.
There you go.
No, but
that's easy.
We're looking for number one, marketing. Obviously, PR firms, marketing continue to send me press releases, letting me know about stuff that's going on in town, just like they always have.
Yep.
If you have a connection that you think is good for something that might help this company grow, whether it's specific to my site or the other stuff, reach out to me. We are constantly interested in partnerships, whether it's hosting events. We're thinking about getting into hosting a few events throughout the year.
Love it.
So if there's someone's like, hey, we can donate the space, or hey, we can offer $1 off drinks or appetizers
That's
if
huge.
you want to come in, stuff like that. So if you ever have an idea and you're looking to partner with like a local media type company, reach out. We'll listen to any and all pitches or ideas as we're trying to get our main company's name out there and everything that's underneath it. So
Yeah. If you ever hire, send just your hiring ads so we can put it on our job board.
wow, that'd be awesome. Absolutely. Yeah, because I'm sure we'll be trying to hire people here for a couple different things, and we'll definitely do that then.
Quick idea.
That's awesome.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Quick idea.
Oh,
we'll
I'm
talk
ready.
to Margaret about this.
Oh no,
We're gonna wrap this up here in a second, Brian. I promise. The Spark Awards,
Yes.
hosted by the Holy
Hey.
Sinner.
Hey.
Could be done.
And then we can have Quentin and Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
writer, and you as speakers at the show.
Fun
Maybe
fact.
the gala.
Do you remember a couple years ago how
Uh-huh.
this gentleman here was our host?
That was, yeah.
It was the virtual
Yep.
Spark Awards.
Yep.
That
was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah,
He did an awesome job.
I had a lot
we were
of
like
fun.
70 disco dancing.
Yep,
It was a
yep.
whole situation. It was great.
Yeah, we were in disco attire because that was the
Oh,
theme.
I had a
So
full-on
now
coat
we
on.
can do it in person.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it.
Hey.
I think that'd be great. Oh, I think
Absolutely.
you'd be fabulous. I
Well,
think
thank
that'd
you.
be great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just,
Anything that we can do to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anything we can do.
I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
having me come on as well as also help getting the name out there to people who might not have heard of it or maybe have forgotten about it or whatever. So I appreciate y'all wanting to talk too.
No, anytime.
HolyCityCenter.com.
Yes.
Do it. Look it up.
Awesome.
Can't thank you enough, Christian.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
And Stephanie, thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
Now,
your insights.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
I always try to bring it.
Bringing the heat.
Bringing it today.
Before we leave, thank you, Kelly, for showing up today, too, and taking our photos, and Brian. And we got a special guest, Jackson, my kid's in the studio today, probably playing Minecraft right now,
There you go.
I would imagine. Go Redfish. He's wearing a Rivertown Country Club t-shirt now. Anyhow, before we leave, we need to also thank our sponsors, the Charleston Radio Group Studios. Jerry Feels Good with the beats. You know Jerry? Have you ever met Jerry Feels
I don't
Good?
think
there?
I've
You
met him.
have probably.
I don't think I've met him in person, but I'm
You've
sure
heard about
I've
him,
been
though,
at
right?
an
He's
event
fun.
where he's
Yeah. He's a
DJing
good
and stuff.
time.
Yeah,
He's
he
smooth.
seems like a good guy.
We also interviewed him.
Nice.
He's
I'll,
great.
I'll go back and listen now. I'll get a better idea of who he is as a person.
There you go.
Yeah, super cool. And of course, thanks to the American Marketing Association. Hey, if you want to sponsor or be a guest on our show, reach out to podcast@charlestonama.org, and we'll get right back to you. Stephanie, you got any closing comments?
Spark submissions are opening up soon, so stay tuned for that.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Christian.
Just thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And you don't have a lot of long form talks like this. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on and boosting my ego up a little bit.
Hey,
Yeah.
I can't
kind of the
complain.
man.
Let's go.
Well, see, I fished for that
The
one.
presence
No.
of greatness.
But no, I truly appreciate you guys taking the time and supporting the site. And I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. All right, listeners. Till next time.
Bye.